Good afternoon, or I suppose good morning to those who might be in the Mountain or West Coast Pacific time zones. You are at our Wednesday webinar here at TimeSolv. I am Scott Clayson. I will be your host for this webinar, and I'm going to let everybody get settled in another minute or so as people are joining. So for those of you that are here already, thank you very much. You have another minute or so and we'll get started. You can go grab that last drink of water, grab your lunch, cup of coffee, whatever you need. So I'll be back here in about a minute. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, as it looks like everyone who plans on attending is here. Once again, welcome to TimeSolv's Wednesday webinar, where this is the location where we learn the tips and tricks to get the most out of your TimeSolv subscription. Again, my name is Scott Clayson. I am the Director of Marketing here at TimeSolv. And I see a lot of names of people attending who come to these webinars every month. So thank you for your support for these webinars. And we're happy that you find value out of what we present here every month. For those that are new to this webinar, this essentially is a recap of the tip of the week emails that are sent to every account owner and administrator at TimeSolv. So if you were the one that started the TimeSolv account for your firm, you were considered the owner of the account, you get the tip of the week email, and anyone else at the firm who has been set their permission levels that they are administrators get the tip of the week email. So we generally review the previous 4 weeks worth of tip of the weeks and just do it in a visual format. Once again, if you have some questions over the topics that I'm covering, I generally will not answer them until we get to the end of that particular topic. And I would suggest you perhaps hold off on asking questions until I completely finish presenting a particular topic, because you may find that your question is answered by the time I get to the end. Everyone is on mute except for myself, obviously. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't anticipate us going much past about 45 minutes here. I don't think we'll have the entire hour. I am going to be covering just 3 topics today in our Wednesday webinar. The first one I want to talk about is we rolled this out. I believe this actually came out right before our Wednesday webinar in June. And if, for those of you that are paying attention to any of the emails that you get from us and from me, this shouldn't come as a surprise, talking about TimeSolv Pay, our own online payment system and portal that we released the second week of June. So it's been about a month, just over a month now that we've had that in place. I just want to review it quickly. This is not going to be a deep dive into TimeSolv Pay. I did a whole webinar on it back a couple of weeks ago with Adam Holden from LexCharge, which is the company that is helping run TimeSolv Pay with us. So I'm just going to go through some high-level stuff for those that may not have attended the webinar. I'm not going to make this a full 45 minutes about TimeSolv Pay. The second topic we're going to cover today is looking into the Microsoft 365 integration that TimeSolv has, we've heard from several of our consultants that they feel that our 365 integration is one of the better ones out there between legal, time, and billing systems and Office 365. And to be really honest, and this is, again, what we've heard from several of the consultants who help work with TimeSolv, 365, Office 365 can really be leveraged as a full practice management solution for a lot of firms using all of the various programs that come with 365, leveraging the power of SharePoint, leveraging the power to be able to share documents securely, project management, budgets, all of that stuff can really be done. We think of practice management as this standalone software, and you guys, are probably very familiar with some of the popular ones for small firms, whether it's a Cosmolex, a Rocket Matter, Clio, Practice Panther, MyCase. There's a number of them out there, but actually 365 can handle a lot of what those full practice management solutions offer. The one thing that they don't really offer, and where we come into play, is the ability to track time and generate invoices and send invoices. They just don't have that financial component. So we'll talk a little bit about the integration. I haven't showed that in a while, about what you can do, especially from your Outlook specifically. We do have a OneDrive integration as well for document management. I'm not going to cover that in as much detail. And then our last topic for the day is going to be talking about budgets. And really, I should have changed this to, it's not just budgets, it's matter budgets and matter budgeting. That's a nice, strong feature within TimeSolv you may or may not be that familiar with, about how you can lay out a budget for your matter or your project you're working on for a client before you start the work. And there's a lot of variety of options within TimeSolv depending on how you want to create a budget for a matter or a project. So we'll review that today. So that is what is on tap. So without any further ado, let's get going. Let's first talk about TimeSolv Pay. As I mentioned, this is essentially TimeSolv's own version of LawPay. For those of you that are familiar with LawPay, we have an integration with LawPay, still have an integration with LawPay. They have become kind of the payment processor default, if you will, for the legal industry. And we have now a way to collect payment that is very similar to LawPay, and we'll be getting even more deeply integrated within the TimeSolv application in the future. But first, let's start from the beginning. The TimeSolv Pay, how is it different from other credit card processors? And a lot of people will start and end the conversation about accepting credit cards and electronic payment with how much does it cost, right? What is the processing fees? Is there a monthly fee? All that sort of thing. So I do have a handy chart that we created that actually compares TimeSolv Pay to LawPay, which most of you are familiar with, I'm sure. The thing that is really a great advantage about TimeSolv Pay is it's a flat processing fee. And there's no monthly subscription for the service. So you can sign up, open up a merchant account with TimeSolv Pay and not have to pay anything. Then once you do start running transactions, it is a flat 3% processing fee plus 30 cents per transaction, no matter what kind of card is being used by your clients to pay for their invoices. And that's a huge distinction that most other processing companies just cannot offer. And then there is a $2 per e-check or ACH transaction. And that is, I think, underutilized feature is the ability to accept a check basically electronically. And it costs $2 no matter how much the check is written for. So whether it's $10,000 or $10, it's a $2 per check transaction fee. Now, the difference is LawPay at first glance might seem like it's going to be the cheaper option potentially. Now, first of all, LawPay does have a flat $20 a month subscription fee to use the service. But on top of that, when you do dig through the fine print a little bit, you'll notice that there is a $2 Visa fixed acquirer network fee for anybody who uses a Visa, and a $1.25 MasterCard location fee. Those are both monthly fees that would get tacked on to your regular $20 LawPay fee. They advertise, and this came straight from their website, standard cards. The processing fee is 1.95% and 20 cents per transaction. So obviously that looks at first blush much cheaper than what we can offer at that 3%. And specialty cards, which are corporate cards, reward-based cards, and so on, they're offering 2.95% and 20 cents per transaction. These types of cards are probably about 95% of all cards in use today. These standard cards are essentially like your debit cards from a bank. You know, a real simple card. And maybe it wasn't really a credit card per se. About 95% of all cards are these corporate reward type cards. And then American Express has a higher fee of 3.5% and 20 cents per transaction. So still, on the all in all, it looks like, hey, it's actually probably a bit cheaper to use LawPay versus TimeSolv Pay. But in reality, there are other somewhat hidden costs to what gets passed on by LawPay. And this is coming straight from their website. I literally went right to this page here to find these somewhat, I guess you could call them hidden fees. So American Express, for example, on top of that 2.95% here, they're also going to tack on another 0.16% for this network processing fee. And then assuming that you're taking your American Express payments over the phone or through an online portal, they're going to tack on another 0.3%. So that's 0.46% now on top of this 3.5%. So now we're looking at almost 4% for an American Express card. For Visa cards, they have this $2 a month fee that I already mentioned, but they also tack on a small amount. Yes, it's only 1.95 cents and another $0.0018. They tack on a 10% integrity fee and so on. And then they have these international acquiring fees as well. So they're tacking on more money beyond just these specialty cards. And Visa will tack on 0.85% for this acquirer program support fee or whatever it's called, and then 0.60 for this any international type of fees. So again, they're adding on more fees to what is the baseline amount. With us, you only have to worry about $3. 3%, 30 cents per transaction. You don't have to worry about these sort of somewhat hidden fees. I mean, they're out there. LawPay doesn't pretend they're not there, but you have to work a little bit to find this stuff on their website. So the reality is, like on an American Express payment, let's say somebody pays you $10K on an invoice using American Express. Well, the processing fee is going to be flat 3.5% for Amex with LawPay versus 3% for TimeSolv Pay. Transaction fee is 20 cents and 30 cents. You have to include that monthly fee. Now, I know you're probably doing more than one transaction a month. So this 23.25 would be split amongst all the various transactions you have. So this is a little bit inflated, if you will. But then they're also adding, again, this 0.16 processing fee, 0.3% card not present fee. So now that's an additional $46 on that 10K. So you can see the difference in what you would pay on the same dollar amount using TimeSolv Pay versus LawPay. And we did the same thing with a MasterCard too. Again, the 2.95 seems cheaper at first glance, but then you have to tack on this 0.85 acquirer program support fee and then a couple of cents here for their network acquisition fee. So again, you end up paying more using a MasterCard on LawPay than you do TimeSolv Pay. So that's just a high level glance at how much is actually going to cost. Now in TimeSolv, to open up a merchant account, you would go under Payments here in TimeSolv to Settings. Then we have a tab called TimeSolv Pay. Now I already have a dummy TimeSolv Pay account set up, but I can do a sneaky little URL trick here that my dev guy showed me. And I can show you what it would look like for somebody who doesn't have an account yet. You would be taken to this page here. And the only reason I'm showing you this is it can take you as little as 5 minutes to apply for a merchant account. They actually timed it, and they came under at 4 minutes and 30 seconds as long as they had all the information that's needed up front. And this includes your tax ID number for your company, who's the owner of the firm, bank account information, and so on. We do have an enrollment checklist, which is super handy, of the various information you might need to provide. And you can just estimate some of this information like annual volume, average ticket size, highest ticket size that you'll probably be charging, and so on. It may ask you for some further information depending on how you're answering these questions. But in general, it should take you about 5 minutes to get signed up, and you should get approved within a few hours. Once that happens, then you can get into our TimeSolv portal. And this looks a lot like if those of you who have LawPay, what their portal would look like. You have a simple button over here where you could just take a payment. Just somebody calls in and wants to pay an invoice. You click on take a payment, put in their name, put in the card number, put in the amount, and hit charge. Now, we don't have, the integration doesn't match up. You wouldn't immediately know this payment that you do in TimeSolv Pay wouldn't automatically show up yet over here on your payment screen and allocate it to an invoice. We're hoping to get there soon. That's the next version of TimeSolv Pay that we want to get pushed out before the end of this year, is that you could take those one-time payments right in this interface of TimeSolv. You wouldn't even have to go over to this portal here. But this portal also has a dashboard that's going to show you how much money you've taken in over the course of the month, how many customers, and it gives you all the kind of analytics stuff that you would need to do when looking at, hey, how much money is coming in via TimeSolv Pay. TimeSolv Pay, once you have your application, set up and everything, you would just simply associate it with the bank accounts you should already have set up in TimeSolv here. You can set up as many bank accounts as you'd like, designate them as operating in trust, and then hook them up to which ones you want to hook up to your TimeSolv Pay account. In this case, it's my one that I call operating account. I have my one IOLTA account. As we've shown in the past, it's very easy if you want to just store your client's payment information on file, if you will. Just like when I pay my utility, my electric bill, my gas bill, I've given them my credit card number once and it's stored, Netflix, whatever, Amazon Prime, and then it's just reused. And you can do the same thing with TimeSolv. I've shown this many times before. You can either do it at the client level or at the matter level. Doesn't matter whether you're looking at a client or a matter, you will have a tab called Payment Settings. And that's where you can enter this card information, have it on file. So now next time you have an invoice that you want to pay with the card on file, you could simply do that. And I've shown this before. You could check a box and you could just hit charge and it'll charge that invoice that you already have payment for on file. You could also do something similar to that over here. We have our customers. Anybody who has a credit card on file over here that you've entered will be shown over here as well in TimeSolv Pay. One other quick thing I want to show before we move on with TimeSolv Pay is, and this question gets asked a lot, the ability to do recurring payments, automatic recurring payments. And you can do that pretty easily. It's not the most elegant feature in the world, but when we're looking to, again, improve that in TimeSolv Pay 2.0, but whenever you're viewing a particular client, or excuse me, a particular matter, down here under the General tab in the right column, you'll see a Get Recurring Payment Reference Code. It's going to pop up a code for you here that you can just copy. You can go back over to TimeSolv Pay, and under this plus sign, you can say Create Recurring Invoice. And you can put the details here. This is, I don't know what we want to call it, monthly retainer. And say it's $1,000. I'm going to paste that reference number right here. I'm going to set up a schedule, and you can change this any way you'd like. You can make it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, when it's going to first charge, whatever the case may be. I'm going to hit continue, and then I'm going to find the customer. If I already have them on file, a payment method on file, I would see them here. I can add a new customer if I'd like, but I'm just going to select one that I already have on file. Let's say Dana Reeld. And you can see I already have a Discover card with her on file that I've entered over here at the matter level. And I could use that one if I'd like, or I could go back and I could use a different one and enter autopay and enter a new card number if I'd like. But once I say, okay, I'm going to choose this one, it's going to show me all the information. It's going to show me the reference number, and it's going to set a schedule. And now there will be an automatic payment, a recurring payment based on this schedule that'll happen every month, every week, whatever the schedule is that you have designated. And that will show up over here in TimeSolv Pay as a payment. So again, it's exciting that we have this going. We feel like it's just as robust as LawPay. A couple other things that I do like to show people that's kind of fun is, again, like LawPay, if you want to have, I know a lot of firms have this, a link on your website to direct people to make a payment. I just did this yesterday for my sprinkler, my irrigation service. They had to come out and do some work on the sprinkler system at my house. I went online, got the invoice in the mail, actually, a bit old school, but I got it in the mail. And I went online and I just went to a portal they had on their website that said pay online here. And to do something like that with TimeSolv Pay, I'm going to click on this apps link here in the left-hand column, and I'm going to go to website payments. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, let's launch website payments. And here is my simple website link. And I can preview what's this page going to look like. It's fairly simple. It's going to have the TimeSolv Pay logo. It's going to have the name of your firm here. And then they could make a payment here if they'd like. No problem. This is also the same sort of thing where you could enable our client portal that we have to allow your clients to pay through a portal. And I'm not going to go through the details of that, but you could do that by going under clients and settings, enabling your client portal. This would then include a link in the email that you send your clients when you send an invoice. They could go to that portal, make a payment through TimeSolv Pay. That payment would appear here, in your dashboard, in your reports and everything, and it would automatically mark your invoice as paid. So that is available for you now. It has been available for a while with LawPay integration as well. Okay, like I said, this is a high-level look at TimeSolv Pay. If you want a more deeper dive with this, we'd be happy to schedule a meeting for you, help you through the process, answer any questions you have. You can actually just email me and I'll direct you to the right person at TimeSolv who could give you a deeper dive into TimeSolv Pay. Any questions at this point before we move on to our next topic? Okay, this is good. I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, and by the way, I guess I didn't mention this. At the bottom of your screen, you should see the Q&A button icon. That's where you can click to ask a question if you have one. I'd rather do it there than in the chat area if possible. Okay, well, let's move on then and talk about our Microsoft 365 integration. And this is, like I said, a really strong and I think fairly robust integration that we do have with those of you that use Office 365. So first of all, it mainly, when I say Office 365 in terms of our integration, I'm mostly talking about integration with Outlook. And this is an important note. We don't have a add-in or integration with Microsoft Word, for example, or Excel, or some of the other more popular Microsoft products. It's mainly Outlook. And we're talking about an integration that can really make you more efficient in collecting time when you're using Outlook. We know a vast majority of us, I'm one of them, uses Outlook for managing your email, obviously, and also your calendar. So if you haven't leveraged the tools that are out there for kind of enhancing Outlook with add-ins, then you really should. And this is what TimeSolv has is what's called a Microsoft add-in. And there's hundreds and hundreds of Microsoft add-ins. Like I use Grammarly, for example. It helps with catching any grammatical errors that I have when writing emails. there's just all sorts of different add-ins. I have one for a sales tool for HubSpot, which we use for managing all of our prospects and customers. What I'm talking about is the TimeSolv add-in. So first, how do you get an add-in? Well, first, let's head back to TimeSolv. And if we go under Account to Integrations, you'll see a tab here called Office 365. This is the URL you want to grab in order to get the Outlook add-in. So I'm just going to copy this. And then in your Outlook, I'm using the desktop Outlook, and I'll show you how to do this with the web version for those that use the web version of Outlook in just a second. It's very similar. In the desktop version of Outlook, you would come over here, you're under this main home ribbon, and you would click on Get Add-ins. When you open that, you want to go to My Add-ins, scroll down here to Custom Add-ins. You'll see I already have the TimeSolv one installed, but you probably won't see any down here. The main thing is you want to click on here where it says Add a Custom Add-in and choose Add from URL and paste that URL you just grabbed from TimeSolv. That will install the add-in. Then when it should appear over here in your main home bar. And when you open it for the first time, it's going to ask you to log in with the credentials you have, your username and password. I'm obviously already logged in. But here's what you can do with the add-in. First of all, it is a time entry tool. And this is, I think, really powerful. You don't have to be in the TimeSolv app to create a time entry using this add-in. As you can see, I'm right here where I could start a clock. I'm maybe writing an email. Let's do this a little differently, because this will probably be most applicable for those that are actually writing emails. So as you can see, my Grammarly add-in pops up automatically. But this is an email I'm going to write to my client. And this is something obviously is billable time. So I want to open up, click on time entry. I'm going to close Grammarly here, give myself a little bit more space. And you can see it's automatically started a time entry. And now I write my email. I do however long it takes for that email. I can stop, I can add additional time because maybe I forgot to start the timer. So it took me, a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes to write this email. The date can be changed. And now, more importantly, obviously, we want to associate it with a client in Matter. So just like the regular TimeSolv interface, you can find your client in Matter one of two ways. Either start typing, and it'll start pulling up the client or Matter that match what you've started to type, or you can just double click and get the long list of all of your clients and Matters and choose the one that you're looking for. If you have tasks that you've set up, plan tasks, it'll appear here just like the regular time entry screen. You can choose, similar to if you have this enabled, billable, non-billable, or no charge. You can make your description here. For those of you that leverage the power of abbreviations, and I hope all of you do, here's all the abbreviations that you have set up, and I can just click on it. Excuse me, no, I can just like OA space, and it's going to expand out. It's basically a text expander. So all of the kind of power of making fast time entries in the TimeSolv application are available in this add-in. And then I can just simply hit save. Time entry is saved. And if I go back into TimeSolv and into the time entry screen, you can see here it is right here, that, 0.3 hours, $285. It rounded up, as you can see, to 0.3. And it's July certification work for my client Amir here. Okay, so really cool, powerful stuff to create time entries on the fly. The other great tool that we have here with the add-in is you can take an email and file it. So say this, I don't know, this is some marketing email I got from somebody. But if I want to file all the correspondence with a particular client into a folder over here, you can do that with our add-in. So I'm going to click again here on the time entry. And notice here, I have a tab that says File Email. And what I can do is select the matter that I want to file this email under. So again, I'm going to double click and I'm going to go under, it's the Amir test matter that I have. I can file the entire conversation or just the individual email. And when I do that, notice what's going to happen over here. A new folder just appeared here called TimeSolv. And when I open it, there's the name of my client. There's the name of my matter. And there's the email that I just filed over there. So again, really nice, powerful way to organize correspondence that you have with your clients, and they'll be organized by the matter that you're working on for them. What I really like now is the way you can use this with your calendar. I think this is slick, and nobody else that I know offers this. It's the ability to take events from your calendar and turn them into time entries. So if I know that I have a 11:30 lunch, let's say, with a client, I'm going to go and create this calendar event. And this is, lunch with Tim Couch. I know that this lunch is going to be an hour and a half long. And this is going to be, we're going to be working on strategy for a court appearance. So strategy for court appearance. This is absolutely a billable event, right? So before I save and close it, I'm going to, again, click here to time entry. TimeSolv grabs the fact that this is an hour and a half event and automatically creates an hour and a half time entry. It's got the date of the event. It's going to be on July 16th. And now I'm just going to associate this with a particular client and matter. So in this case, it's Tim Couch, love versus money. And I can just say it's a CC, we'll say a conference call, whatever. You can also, if you don't want to use a description, handwrite it, you can click here and fill from event, and it'll fill in the title and the description that you wrote here. And then again, I'm just going to hit save. Time entry has been saved. I'm going to save and close this calendar event. So now I have this calendar event, it's here, but it's also now a time entry. So when I come back over here, let's hit refresh. And on Friday the 16th, there is my time entry for the lunch I'm going to have. So take a time entry, or excuse me, take a calendar event, turn it into a time entry. You can take past events, like let's say this Wednesday webinar, right? I'm going to open it up. Maybe I'm not going to open it up. I don't use this calendar on this side very often. So yes, I want to open it. It's just this one. There we go. I'm going to take an existing calendar event and I can turn it into a time entry as soon as I associate it with the client and matter. So you can retroactively go back like, hey, last week, and this interview here, this meeting here, whatever, I'm going to turn this into a time entry. Really powerful tool of managing. Some of us live in Office 365, of managing this stuff without having to go into TimeSolv itself. For those of you that use the online version of Office, it is virtually the same thing. Let me go get my Office version. There we go. Time entry is going to look very similar, where when I create a time entry here on the Office version, it's a little harder to find the add-in when you're on Outlook Online. Just so you know, it's not as obvious with a logo and everything. You have to go into these three little dots, click on them, and then go into TimeSolv, and same thing will happen as before. Emails is the same way. It's a little, it's just not as easy finding. And again, this is, this is just Outlook Online. It's just the way it is. Let's roll over here real quick. And we have this whatever email, some marketing email here. And when or actually, let's go and create a new message. That's going to be the most appropriate thing. So we're going to have a new message. And here, again, not super intuitive, but it's what Office did. Their add-ins are down here with this little ellipse. And you can get to the TimeSolv time entry interface here. For creating, installing the add-in using the online version, you will go to new message, and then you click on the three dots up here. No, excuse me, that's not right. Where is it? Oh, it is down here, I believe. And you can get add-ins. Yes, sorry. So you go down here, you could get add-ins. It's going to bring you up to that very similar looking page that we showed you for the desktop version. You go to my add-ins, go down here, same way, paste in that URL that you get from over on the TimeSolv side. We're under integrations and then Office 365. You're grabbing this. Okay, any questions on the Office 365 integration? One last quick thing as you're maybe thinking of questions. We have a calendar view here in TimeSolv. We don't talk about it a lot, where you can manage events for your various clients and matters that you add to. But you can also have your Office 365 calendar appear in here if you'd like. So you can, I'm already logged into Office 365 and I can add in and it'll show, I think I'm using a different calendar here. Yeah, a couple of calendar events here that I have. Conversely, you can also grab any calendar events you have here in TimeSolv and install it in your Outlook calendar. I assume that a lot of people probably know that you can have multiple calendars that you can view. And this is where you would do that. You would add calendar, you would add it from the internet, and you would grab over in TimeSolv. When you click on your professional name here, you would go to Office 365 calendar and you would grab this URL and paste it in here to bring up your calendar over in your Outlook, your TimeSolv calendar. I know we don't really push our calendar usage much because it's probably not a strength of TimeSolv, but that is a way you can match calendars back and forth, which is kind of a not uncommon thing these days. So. Okay, I almost said okie dokie, but that's just such a Minnesotan thing to say. All right, let's talk about our last topic here for the day, and that is creating a matter budget or a project budget for those of you that are using TimeSolv Pro and maybe aren't a law firm. A lot of law firms, from what I have understood in talking to lawyers at various events and so on and on the phone, is planning out the work you're going to do for your new client or any client isn't something that is universally done, and presenting or creating a budget for the work. And we really advocate at TimeSolv to be really efficient and making sure you're providing the best value for your clients is to create a budget before you start the work. And that's easy to do using our tools. If you go under clients and matters here, and I'm going to create a whole new matter actually, just to start fresh. So let's say Nancy Forbes. And I'm going to create a new matter. And I'm going to call it probate, or whatever. On any matter that you have, you may have noticed in TimeSolv, you do have a tab here called Budget. So when you click on that tab, you can create a budget for this matter as high level to as granular as you'd like. And I like to say that it sort of matches these tabs here in the budget area from highest level to most granular. At the matter level here, you can create just an overarching matter budget on in four different areas. You can budget the hours you want to dedicate towards this matter, the total fees, the total expenses, and the total for any particular invoice. This prevent exceeding column, and by the way, when you start working on that matter, then you can easily come into this budget tab and see how you're doing with your actuals versus your remaining. This prevent exceeding, if you check the box for these, this means that if you set a budget for a certain number of hours and you go to make time entries that exceeds that hours or the fees that you've associated, it will not allow you to make that time entry. It's going to prevent you from exceeding your budget. Powerful for sure. So as an example, let's say I budgeted 3 hours to this, and I'm going to prevent me from exceeding that 3 hours for the budgeted hours. And I go to make a time entry. And there's the probate work. And I go to try to enter 4 hours here. It doesn't let me do it. Matter hours budget is exceeded. I'd have to go back and change this hours. Now, if I leave that box for prevent exceeding unchecked, turn that off. And let's go try to make that same time entry and exceed the budget again. Let me show you what happens here. Okay, I'm going to do 4 hours again. It allows me to make that time entry, but it will give me that kind of a yellow warning, not the red stop sign, but a yellow warning sign that you've exceeded the budget, but we did make this time entry. So you do have a level of wiggle room if you don't check that prevent exceeding box. Now, if I go back to that particular matter and I go and take a look at the budget, you can see I budgeted 3, my actuals are 4, so I'm 1 hour over my budgeted target goal. And it shows me here that I have exceeded my budget by 133%. So that's at the full matter level. You can also create a budget at the professional level. So you click on the professional tab, click on enter budget, and you're going to see, well, wait a minute, nobody's selected as a professional yet. Okay. That's because we need to assign our professionals to this matter. So I'm going to go under team, and I'm going to say, Mike Hegman, Doug Cosby are here, and I'm also going to create a responsible professional, and it'll be me. So now when I go under my budget and I go to professional and I go to enter budget over here, now I should have why don't I have, should see everybody there. What did I do wrong here? I believe it should all be working just fine. Bit of a hiccup. I hate when that happens when I'm in the middle of a webinar. Okay, I'll have to look into why it's not showing the professionals I've assigned here, but this is where you would budget for a particular professional. Oh, maybe I need to do, I can do it? I don't think so, but let's double check. Yes, I did. So I just unchecked that box there about requiring it for a matter plan. So now I can say, Mike Hegman, for any work that you do here, you get 5 hours. And you can see, so I need to remove this budget. It gives you a warning there. You're budgeting in 2 different areas. At the matter level, let me remove that time entry. Okay. As you can see, that because the question can come up, well, what happens if I put together a matter, at the matter level of budget, and then I have a professional level budget? Well, you don't want to kind of, as they say in Ghostbusters, cross the streams and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that here, update it. And then I go to the professional level, and there I have 5 budgeted hours and so on for Mike Hagman. So you can budget by whoever you want to be working on it and give them, like, here's your assigned hours to work on it. And you can do that not exceeding, as I showed you before. The next level down, and this is one that I think is hugely powerful for firms that do leads billing and are required to, I know that a lot of firms that have to submit their invoices to insurance companies via a leads portal of some sort, an electronic invoice portal, oftentimes they're required to submit a budget before the work. And of course, the budget has to, and all the work that they do has to include the specific task codes that are used by that by the insurance companies. Excuse me. So this is where you would do that, and you would hit enter budget here under task code, and say, yeah, you know what? For the B100 business operations task code, you can do it by hours or fees, whichever is required, and you can budget it in that fashion. Then you can export that out to an Excel sheet and then send it to whatever portal needs it for leads billing. So really powerful to create a budget by the task code. You can do that by the expense codes as well. You can also do it by planned tasks and then by the professional and the tasks that you have. Now, planned tasks, or if you go over here to the matter plan and you create phases and tasks and milestones, I'm not going to get into how detailed you can get here, but this is basically project management 101. And I'm just going to grab from, I have a family estate plan that I've put together that includes 3 phases: will prep, trust prep, and probate avoidance. Here's the tasks that I work on for each of these. And I'm going to say that professional assignment is required. Okay. Actually, I'm going to keep that turned off. I'm going to go to my budget. And then here I can enter a budget for Doug Cosby is going to do this particular task, and I'm going to give him 3 hours to do it, kind of thing. Or you could just say it doesn't have to be by professional. It can just be by the actual task. It doesn't matter who's doing it. So here's all the tasks that I've created. So the main point here is with the budget feature in TimeSolv, you can create a budget ahead of time before you do your work and then work towards that budget. And if you exceed the budget, you can either hard stop it and not even be able to create the time entry or the expense entry that exceeds your budget. Or you can simply understand when you're exceeding the budget and get the warning, that yellow warning, hey, I've exceeded budget. So that's the power of the budget. And the other one is being able to build out a budget that can be submitted by task code for insurance defense purposes and for leads billing. I think it's a really big, important feature. We also really emphasize creating a whole matter plan, and for the matters, the tasks that are in here, you can do lots with them. You can make them, you can give them default task code, you can give them dependencies. You can then put in the budget here, like I showed you. This is another way to put in the budget, is I could assign it to various people, have a particular task budget no matter who's working on it. This is where you would see the time entries that have been created for it. You can add time to this task right here. You don't have to go to the time entry screen. So there's a lot of flexibility in what you can do with the budgets here within TimeSolv. Okay, any questions? This could be one of the rare webinars where nobody asks a question. I almost feel like saying, like, hello, is this thing on? Hello? I know you guys are there. You would have been telling me if you couldn't hear me. Okay, well, once again, if you have any suggestions beyond what you saw here today, If you have any questions on what you saw here today, please get a hold of our support team, support@timesolv.com. We have our 1-800 number, extension 2 is for our support team. And we do have our suggestions portal, timesolv.ideas.aha.io. And let me put that into the chat section here. Aha, we did get a couple of questions. Okay, when will the recording be available? I usually get the link for the recording here later today, and I will send out an email to everybody with that link probably tomorrow sometime. And then we do post these on our YouTube channel. There is a Wednesday webinar list that has all of our Wednesday webinars available for viewing. Question about the 365 integration, having an issue with the add-in. Is there someone you could connect to for help? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and you can email our support team as I was just showing you here, or call the 1-800 number, and our support people should be able to help you through issues in getting that add-in installed properly. Okay, any other questions then before we sign off for the day? Okay, I don't see any questions coming in. So again, I'll send out a link to the recording probably later, either late today or probably more likely tomorrow. So thank you everybody for your time. Our next Wednesday webinar will be the second Wednesday of August. Let's go to the calendar. August 11th will be the next time that we'll convene here. So everybody have a great rest of your week, rest of July, rest of the summer. Hopefully we'll see you in August, and take care. Everybody have a great rest of your day.